Ben Heaney and then his progress and his game on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Heaney's doing well. I mean, unfortunately, I think we hit a bump in the road, but that's something that we've got to, we've got to go forward from. And I think Ben is still, I like Ben because, he's bought into what we're doing, and he's a guy that's going every play. And a lot of it, you have to remember the guy's a sophomore. He's a young player, so I think he's just going to get better and better as he goes, and really from an experience and a mental standpoint more than anything else. I think he'll hit as well as anybody. I love that part of him.
Right.
How'd you feel like Ja'Cory did having his first game that he got a lot of
Ja'Cory's going to be, I think, a good football player, good defensive back. He's got a lot of, the one thing that we need is speed on the field, and he gives you that. He can run, and he's kind of a natural. He's an athlete, and I think the more athletes we can get on the field, the better we're going to be. And that's part of the reason that we're kind of integrating him in a little bit now, because we want to make sure he gets some experience, because he's a young player and not much experience on that side of the ball.
When you're facing quarterbacks like these guys have, whoever they go with, they're a young guy. What can you do to spin that to your advantage with their youth and inexperience?
Well, I tell you what, they're both really good stats-wise.
Yeah,
they got a good football team. I think it's as much with the young players like that when things are going well. I think it's really the surrounding guys as much as anything. They've got talented receivers. They've got a running back that's outstanding. I think probably one of their best football players is their fullback, number 9. I think Staley. I think he's going to be playing on Sunday for sure. He's a tough guy and physical, but I think it's a combination of all those things. And I think both quarterbacks present a little different problem. I think Walsh is more of a he's a winner type guy that throws okay and runs okay,
right.
and he makes things happen because he knows how to play football. The other guy, Lunt, has got a big arm, not quite as mobile, so. Depending upon which one you face, you're facing different problems, and I think that's what they present as an offense.
Sure.
I know you guys like to look forward, not back, but last Saturday's third quarter was really indicative of kind of some of the problems that are happening. I mean, what's happening in those second halves, and what can you do to kind of get away from that?
Yeah.
Is there anything? I mean,
I think our guys have to just continue to understand that it's a 60-minute game, and from our side of the ball, I thought offensively we played pretty good in the first half. Defensively, I don't think we played that well in the entire ball game. I mean, we kept it close because we stopped them twice in the 2-minute drills. Twice in 1 2-minute drill. Well, that was good. That's a positive. But I think our guys have to understand that when you go into the second half of a ball game, it's more mental than it is anything else. And I think our guys, I don't know that our guys really understand what it takes to win right now, and that's what we're, pushing, and that's what's got to happen. So, I think it's still a process.
When you're talking about something mental, though, I mean, how do you adjust that at the half? Is there something you can say to those guys, or just, or is it something that has to have happened before Saturday?
No, I just think, look, you got a 20-minute halftime, so if the other team's not really adjusting all that much to what you're doing, so if you're not doing as well in the second half as you do in the first half, then it's got to be that you're not quite 100%. That good things are going to happen. It's almost like, well, when's it going to happen? When's something bad going to happen? And I think we've got to just keep grinding on that, and we have to be leaders as coaches, and that's the charge that we have to go forward. We've got to play better in the second half of football games.
Coach said the other day when you're stacked up against what you guys are going to face in the Big 12. You got to be willing to take some risks and do some things like the 2 fake kicks on the one drive, right, and that kind of thing. Right. Does that carry over to defense too? I mean, it's a little easier to do maybe a flea flicker and whatnot on the offensive side. Right. Does it carry over to defense, that same mentality?
I think you have to be willing to take some chances, when you're playing against high-powered offenses,
right.
We've been pretty vanilla to this point. I mean, we're trying to get our guys to understand what we're trying to do first, and then kind of go from there. But I think you have to be willing to take some chances.
Is that dialing up this blitz or that?
Yeah,
blitz,
it's just maybe being a little bit more aggressive at times than you normally would be. But I really think that This league is a unique league from the standpoint of the firepower in it, offensively, and I think that's an area that we have to continue to get good athletes and better athletes as we go here and get the best athletes on the field. And it may be the guys that we have right here, right now. We have some young players that could be good football players and run really well. So, but they're not ready for prime time this time. So, it's really that's got to be taken care of. You got to get good athletes on the field and then not make any mistakes.
You mentioned the vanilla and doing what you guys need to do first. Do you feel like you're there to where if you decide it's time to take those chances, you can make that move?
Well, I think we have to. I don't think we have any choice at this point right now.
This isn't your first rodeo, and I'm sure you've given up big yards in the rushing game before. Aside from just not having the manpower out there, what have you found? What has helped you in your past? I'm sure people try everything, but can you give us a little idea of experience in years, maybe it be at a different level, but giving up big yards in the rushing game and what you've done?
Well, number one, I think that the quarterback run game is a different animal. Yeah. It forces you to get, when you're not accounting for the quarterback, then you need two guys, one guy inside the block and one guy outside the block. As soon as they add the quarterback to it, you need three guys over there. And that's a simple way of saying it, but those three guys, something has to come from somewhere else. Yeah. Well, when you're facing that type of an offense, that's something that's different. And you have to be disciplined. You can't take on a block, and whereas if a team's running a power play off tackle with just a running back, sometimes you can shuck the blocker and come inside and make the tackle. Well, if you do that and there's one extra guy over there, there's a hole, and that's what happens when you're not really solid in what you're doing against that quarterback run game. And so we've got to, what I know how to do, I only know how to do it one way, and that's to make sure that we're grinding on our guys and making sure that they understand, we have to be disciplined and we have to do the things that we're doing and not throwing in the towel and saying, hey, we're not good enough. That's not going to happen. We're going to be the same coaches in the last game that we are in this game. And it's just a case of making sure that you keep working at them understanding that that's how it has to be.
So then does that make it easier when you're planning for a rushing attack like Oklahoma State's to go back to the first format and not have to worry about it?
Well, it's not, Kansas State presents different problems. So in answer to your question, in some ways the answer is yes, because the problems are different. You don't have the quarterback, the extra blocks, the extra things, but they're so talented, and the players that they have, that is in itself a problem. So I think we probably have less problems to deal with, but we have athletes to deal with. That's the difference in the two attacks.